And I can see, and hello to all some of my ex-colleagues, some of the other colleagues with whom I have personally worked in various capacities, interacted, engaged with, and welcome all panelists, my eminent bunch of panelists. Um, it's very interesting. We are talking about corporate communications at the intersectionality of technology, the evolving role of corporate communication and public relations professionals in the day and age of technology. Uh, you know, Marshall McLuhan, he is one of the most famous communicators. You might have, some of you would have read his books or his theories. Once theorized that a medium is the massage. He actually wanted to say message, but there was a typo and it actually became medium is the massage. Now, in today's day and age, technology is not only the message, the massage, but also is the communication by itself. And we are talking about platforms. And in such a day and age, all of you, very seasoned public relations, corporate communications professionals have gone through a journey for at least a decade and a half, and seen the changes from sending a text message, sending perhaps a fax as a press release, to a day and age when you are actually dictating, putting the keywords, dictating keywords to maybe a chat GPT kind of whatever algorithm, for lack of machine technology, and generating press releases, and then using similarly emerging technologies for disseminating the message to maybe journalists, to maybe sites which are picking it up on our own. So to begin with, tell us about this journey. How are you finding it? How are you all coping with it? Some of your life experiences. You want to go first, Abhishek?
Hi. First, thanks E4M and ComSeta for this opportunity. I think every business, brick and mortar, different kind of business, every business has gone through digital transformation. And in this digital transformation, every business and the consumers are looking for authenticity and transparency. And that's the reason, like, role of PR professionals, it has changed a lot. Today, you are the own content creator, you are creating content, you are thinking content, and you're disseminating content. And I think in this perspective, the journey there's a complete paradigm shift which has already taken place. You don't need a medium, you are the medium yourself. Every brand now owns multiple channels. So that has how changed the game a lot, according to my point of view.
Thanks, Akanksha. He mentioned that you are the medium, and you have also undertaken at least a decade-long or more than that journey, and with something like every WhatsApp ID, which can technically be a broadcast service. How are you looking at the changes which have come about?
So you actually refreshed my memory when you said that there was a time when we used to fax the press release. It was quite funny because I was an engineer and I joined this industry and I was thinking, what am I doing here? Faxing press releases to people. But we've come a long way from there to today, where every channel, every social media channel of a brand is a medium to communicate the message that you want to put out. It helps you to reach out to millions or billions of users within a matter of seconds at the click of a button. And that, as my co-panelists very clearly, rightly pointed out, also gives you a entire canvas. Your website, your own media channels become extremely important. And hence the role of a communications person becomes more evolved to a reputation management person who essentially has to leverage all these channels, right from social media, right from your website, create content that is very relevant for your audience and not just perfect, and also ensure your narrative is in place. Also, I would like to mention that becomes more difficult for you because you have to be on the lookout all the time. Any crisis also starts with social media, with say a tweet on a post on X now. So you have to be on the lookout all the time, and that's where technology also helps you to keep track of what is happening across the world, where what kind of issues could brew up and helps you to be better prepared.
Thanks. I'll come straight away to Tehseen because she is an ex-journalist, has been a storyteller. And so tell us about your experience.
Well, yes, I always like to start with the anecdotes. So coming back to technology and going back to 2 decades when I was a journalist with NDTV, which we called a cub journalist. So me and my friend, we were on a shift, a news shift, while we were doing some crisis management. And my line manager sent a stinker. So my friend, who was my colleague at NDTV, tried to send that message to me regarding the line manager. A funny message. Uth gayi, okay, she has nothing to do. And she wrongly pressed on the button, and it went to the line manager. So while it went to the line manager, we were called by the NDTV ethics committee and Mr. Narayan Rao, who was the group head of HR, who out of you is Tehseen Zaidi and who's Nikki Utpal. So I thought, okay, today we are going to lose our job. And I was looking at Nikki. You were the one who sent that mischievous mail, not me. So in one line, Mr. Narayan Rao, understanding the situation that we both are nervous, he said, machines and technology are our best friends if we use them wisely, nicely, and ethically. Remember this in your life, and you both can go back to your work. So I was like, okay, job is safe, we go back to our work and, better behave for future. So the same thing I'll say when we are here, everything is technology driven, and we as corporate communications have to adopt ourselves, to the new technology. I will say, and I have very different views on that when people say that AI is going to take jobs and AI is going to, change the lives. No, see, we have to use technology. It is our best friend. We have to use it wisely and ethically, going back to what I was taught 20 years back. So we are humans, and in our basically field, if we don't give that human touch, technology alone is not going to work wonders. Yes, the trend has changed. Nowadays, you have to put everything on all the platforms, digital platforms for digital marketing, also on social media. But AI is going to support us on that. There are, AI assistants, there are chat GPT assistants and all, but we have to use them wisely, and we have to apply our own wisdom and skill set to it. So that is very important, coming back to my point from where I started, that yes, the trend has changed, technology has changed, and we have got a lot many new things, and we have to get our outcome with those in record time, but we have to make sure that it's being used wisely and ethically, and see how best it's helping us in our business revenue generation, because we all work very closely with marketing, but not totally depend on that. So with that, I'll pass on the mic to my fellow panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, Tehseen. Okay, Dr. Chowdhary, let me come to you. While we hold the thought about AI, and we'll delve into it a little more deeply, maybe in the second time we come around. But tell us about your experience. You have also gone through tectonic technology shifts, if I may call it. And now that you work globally, how is it treating you?
Sure. Lovely, and thank you for this question, and thanks E4M, Exchange for Media Group, for this panel discussion. So technology is a word now it's a buzzword, and it's not been only today, it's been there for almost. I think Y2K is the time when we all knew what technology brought to all of us. And Y2K, for many youngsters today, they really don't even reflect back or understand what was Y2K. We started on the journey, I think 20 years back. Me and Karan Bhatia, we are amongst the oldies here. We started our journey from those days when electronic email distribution to journalists was introduced. There was a model called Business to Media, launched by IPAN Group way back then. And Business to Media was also referred as B2M. And those were the times when we started talking to journalists and media and realized that the fax system was soon to end. But I think industry took its own time and adopted it way, I think almost a decade passed, and today we see the transformation and maybe 10 years of the transformation into the industry. So I would rather summarize my experiences and the learnings on technology on 3 core aspects. One is the pre-publishing part. Second is during the publishing hustle that we as PR professionals go through. And the third is the post-publishing hustle. You know, once published, then what? So technology is a key factor in improvising our efficiencies at all 3 levels. In the pre-publishing, during the publishing hustle, and in the post-publishing. So that's the motto of how technology is playing a great role in corporate communications, enabling efficiency at all levels. Thank you.
Thanks. Pradeep, I know you have been with very strict brand, abiding companies in your long career as a public professional, public relations professional. Tell us about your journey. I mean, you have seen the faxes, you have seen pigeons, perhaps. Tell us about those days.
Yeah, I need to start coloring my hair. So I didn't frankly see pigeons. Yes, faxes, yes. So a bit of a correction to start. So good for me that this technology wave is happening because I come from a technology background. I'm MSc in electronics, and I worked on the microprocessor 8085, which was the first microprocessor in the computer. So when I joined PR, as one of my panelists was saying, okay, what the hell am I doing? So I changed my field after that. But now I feel a lot more at home. So there are 3 things which technology, the rules, rather I would say the first one is the most important one, which comes from technology and computers. It's called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So the more you use technology, I think this rule becomes more relevant, because if you put good inputs, you will get good outputs, which is true for almost everything, but it's definitely true for technology because it's actually dumb. We call it artificial intelligence, but it's dumb. We are the only one who's teaching that technology. So garbage in, garbage out. So we need to learn how to get the maximum out of that, which is the second thing. And the third thing is that we, as corporate communicators, have always been cribbing that we don't get due recognition, we don't get the seat on the table, etc., etc. I think every disruption, earlier it was social media and digital marketing, now artificial intelligence gives us an opportunity to become more valuable if we are able to be at least ride the wave, if not be ahead of the curve. And now coming to the part that you were talking about, the brands, I think there is always, a balance between being very rigid as a brand in terms of having processes. I am a stickler for processes, but I'm also okay with less processes, and working without too many rules. So I think my days at PepsiCo, I love those because there was a lot of structure, and I also functioned in a regional role. So I think that structure will help today's communicators a lot more, that type of structure, because everybody knows who is doing what and what needs to be done by at what level.
Thanks, Pradeep. I understand you didn't use pigeons. I did. I'll tell you in a different context. Yeah, I mean, pigeons are one of the best means of, transferring one message from one part of the world to the other, and they know no boundaries. But having said that, let's take you back 5 years, or maybe, 7 years back, all of you. Tell us about this experience of, sort of educating your senior leadership about how to write a post on Twitter, how to educate or how to pursue or persuade your senior leadership who would be well past their 50s to make them realize that, look, Facebook can also be an effective means of communication, and we need to make you look good, and we need to put a video out of you, so you have to give us some time. Take us through that journey, some of you, because I know many of you would have done that or are still continue to do that if you have not shifted to some other efficient technology or platform, let's say. I would not call them technology. Take us through some of those experiences. Because that is the evolving role of a corporate communication in the age of technology. Akanksha, you want to go for Abhishek? You want to please go ahead?
So I work with CEOs some of whom are very active on social media and some of whom don't have a presence on social media.
I hope none of them were drunk when they were
yeah.
tweeting. I have gone through that.
And social media is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. So it also depends on your ambition, where you want to be as a leader. I think as a thought leadership platform, social media is a great way to reach out to your audience. LinkedIn has a different tonality, Twitter has a different tonality, Facebook has a different tonality. And everywhere your customer is there. So I think today's business leaders are more open towards social media because they realize that it's also a platform where you understand your customers, what your customers want, because the customers' choices are changing every day. The flavor is changing every day, what they want. So that also helps them in understanding and how to come up with better customer offerings. So that's a reason why today's business leaders, they want to be on social media across different platforms.
So it's very interesting, actually. So I think about, if I think 6-7 years back, and even today, a lot of them, so I think 6-7 years back, let me just think about it, then I think the leaders were not very keen on us kind of going out on the brand channels and talking about the brand, you know. They'll say, okay, we'll put 2-3 posts in a week. I mean, why do you have to do it? Just make some creative. They definitely didn't understand what is a content strategy for a social media brand. Like, why do you need it? Why would you spend monies to create content or create IPs for social media? So that, I think, has eased out a lot more today from a brand social media standpoint. I see leaders who may not be very comfortable in our organization also, like the seasoned leaders may not be very comfortable putting it out on their own channels. They do it because it's the need of the business, but they understand the value of social media. They understand it's an important tool for us to reach out to customers, and beyond customers, understand the importance of it reaching out to a variety of stakeholders, including, say, investors, including prospective partners, existing partners, the government, regulators, the who's who are important. So I think from a brand social media standpoint, we've seen that journey. Also, if you look at the leadership handles, I think earlier, and we still struggle with a few of them, who say it is my handle, why should I write what you want me to write? I will decide what I have to write. So at least in our organization, we have a very clear policy in terms of what the leadership can write, what they cannot write, and you know, they have to run it past the comms head before they put it out. Some willingly do it, some unwillingly do it across the organization. You reminded me of some of the drunk messages and tweets, so I won't refer to anybody, but there are enough instances of that. So I think it's important. They've also understood the kind of impact it can have. You know, you put out one post, you don't realize the impact it can have across a variety of stakeholders. You just think, I just put a tweet, how does it matter? But it can impact the brand. So I think that awareness is increasing also for the individual handles. From a brand handle standpoint, I think we made a lot of headway, and leaders are aligned to this approach that they are important.
Thank you, Akanksha. Pradeep, you have worked with very disciplined brands who are very, again, coming back to your erstwhile, I would not let you be off the hook on that one. You know, does use of technology such as instant technology, like instant noodles, also are a big crisis creator for the brand, because somebody tweets out something, and coming to Akanksha's point, and when I mentioned the drunk tweets, I was pretty sure, because there was a very senior government official who one day had a couple of pegs, and he got on a Twitter war with a couple of those trolls on the social media. And he actually said that, here is my Aadhaar number, and you go and hack it. Within an hour, they actually hacked it, and it was an embarrassing situation. But I mean, yeah, there was this thing going on, besides what you were referring to. But coming back, tell us, is it a crisis creator? Because, you know, someday somebody decides, nee, I will put out a video. I am unhappy with the company, I will put out a video of you guys dancing drunk in some party.
Yeah, sure, it can be. Everything has a flip side, and I can now narrate, it's been many years, two instances. One was that one of the agencies who used to manage one of the brands, he had, which we all have, multiple logins. So on Twitter, he thought that he was tweeting from his handle. He tweeted about a very, very sensitive judgment which came out. And we as a company were in the eye of a storm. So that was one, which was the live example. And those days, I'm talking about perhaps what, 8, 10 years, or probably more than, probably more, 12 years ago. So that was one. The second one was that one of our brands, they started a campaign which was based on a religious figure. And this was just before Diwali, and I had, after my office, I was distributing sweets, going to my relatives' places, and I was on a call in my car for 1.5 hours trying to manage that crisis, and we fortunately were able to get that under control without too much damage. But yes, it can become a big issue. Now that's where the point of processes and education comes in, that you need to have those processes. Everybody should know what they can or they cannot do. And those were early days. Now the processes are far more evolved. People learn from others' mistakes and from their own mistakes. Now companies have far detailed processes, far better control. But those days, it was early days. People did not know. And PepsiCo, as one of the early movers, always you learn from those mistakes. So yes, we did.
Thank you. Yeah, I have gone through those 17,000 pages long social content, social media strategies, and actually had to also sit down for 1 year to write some of those 17,000 pages. Okay, so
I actually just wanted to add that led us to put in a place, and I was fortunate to be spearheading that huge ORM process across all the 22 brands. So we had a war room with all the big TV screens with live Twitter and LinkedIn feeds and whatnot. So that, because the paranoia set in very early.
hold on to that thought. I will come back to you. Just hold on to that thought. But Tehseen and Dr. Chowdhary, you want to chime in on what we were discussing? We are discussing right now that is it a crisis creator or is it a crisis solver? Technology, I meant.
So if you ask me, I'll say technology and social media both are, double-edged sword. It's how we use it. So it is helpful for us if we use it wisely and if we use it only as our support tool and as an assistant. If we totally depend on that, of course, machines can do errors anytime, and so can technology. So we have to be very mindful in using that. And now when this discussion was happening, so recently my organization, we work into agriculture. So the leaders are mostly in the field. So they never bothered about, how we can reach out to audience through social media. And as Abhishek, I think earlier pointed out, every channel, Facebook will have a different audience, Twitter will have a very different set of audience. We have Instagram, we have LinkedIn. So I took a workshop for our leaders on social media and its importance, and how from social media also now we can reach out to the farmers, because I was doing stories in the field. I was extensively traveling for 3-4 months at a go, and I realized any and every farming family, be it a smallholder or any level of farmer, they will have a smartphone and they will definitely use social media, including TikTok. I like to mention that. So we came to the conclusion that we will do storytelling, and honestly, in 6 months, after training our leaders on how to use social media and how they have to come back to me with more ideas and for approval and the field stories, I was able to give a presentation to them on how our customers have increased significantly in terms of, because corporate communications, we always have to keep justifying how we are helpful to the commercial team. I mean, that's the problem we face all the time. The marketing team will say, okay, we generate this much of revenue, what are you doing? So then I made them understand how important technology and use of digital platform is, how important digital marketing it, but then we have to use it very wisely. Another very interesting incident which really helped our leaders, the global leaders, because we are a Swiss-based multinational and we have offices across 20 countries. So to all of them to understand how fast it works and how it can also be helpful to us while we are careful and we take a very balanced approach on it. I think it was a Saturday, and we received a message on all our Facebook channels tagging us that a farmer and the farmer's son-in-law, who was based out of UK, he approached us saying that he has consumed a pesticide and he's in a very serious situation, and he thought it's our product. It was not our product, and this came to my knowledge, so I immediately had a crisis meeting and all. So we discovered it was nothing related to us, but still, since we are a very responsible organization, we reached out to the gentleman, we helped him on which we have put him on the best toxicologist in India, and we extended all our support because he was sitting in UK. So in India, whatever best, the toxicologist referred him to the best doctors and the procedures, and we saved the life through social media in record time. So that gentleman thanked us on social media that despite us not being involved, we were able to save a life. So that is the power of social media and technology, that if we use it wisely and in the right form, then of course it is changing lives, and of course it is impacting business and helping us. Also, another point, all these tools now, AI, it can be our best friend if we only use it as a support. And I strongly believe that, content is something which is very personal, and if we don't put that personal touch to the content, we will not be able to give the best, because machines are machines, technology is technology. So the role of communicators remain the same, because we give that human touch. Until we give that human touch, we'll not get the outcome which we desire. So,
Dr. Chowdhary?
Hi, I think wonderful thoughts around with all the panelists, but I think I would want to reflect back. This is the Android explosion in the country, 2009 onwards, I think. That's from where we
Phones started getting cheap. That's it.
Exactly. So that has probably changed the entire audience engagement strategies for all of us in the PR business. Our PR plans have completely changed. The elements of the PR plan has changed today. So the social media is one edge, probably podcast is another. So there are so many new areas which earlier the PR only probably had a thought leadership article or a PR article or a press release, etc. So we are now dabbling with multiple avenues as PR and professional communicators to strategize the best of all.
Okay, hand over heart. How many of you have sacked your content creators? People who write press releases, who write these thought leadership pieces, how many of you sacked them? I mean, you don't need to answer that. But yeah, there was a radio silence there.
Yeah.
The context suddenly changed.
Yeah.
So we were in that era, talking about digital.
Yes, because we are now suddenly jumping. Have you seen Space Odyssey 2001? It jumps from Paleolithic era to exactly to 5,000 years later.
But context is everything.
Sorry. Okay, now give yourself 2 minutes and come back and say that, okay, we were discussing AI. On a serious note, we have been discussing AI for some time now. We also know something called deep fakes, and we are seeing some of the impacts. And as we move into a very chaotic election year, not just in India, but also in the US, you will see much more of that happening. So be prepared with that. And once it is tested out in the political arena, it's a matter of time before brands start getting impacted. So how many of you as corporate communications professionals, seasoned corporate communications professionals, have started thinking about what should be your strategy in a scenario where a deep fake, let's say your MD comes up, to somebody who looks like your MD, may not be your MD, but a deep fake is created and starts sending out tweeting from your brand handle or something like that, tweeting or whatever, putting it on social media. How do you deal with that? Are you equipped enough to, or do you feel that you have, I mean, nobody has the full scenario, but are you thinking about it? If so, how are you thinking about it? Because that is where the world is going.
I think
So, sure, Abhishek.
it's always good to have an always-on strategy. You cannot switch off at any point of time, given a situation that you're operating in a very volatile situation. Anything can happen anytime. And in that situation, I think two things becomes very important. One is like social listening, and another is the monitoring tools. You have too many monitoring tools where you can analyze the effectiveness of your communication right from what is the sentiment of your brand. I think these two are very important to start with, basic things and fundamentals. They become the fundamental of what your brand might face in future. I think like the future is too difficult to predict, but if we keep our fundamentals in place, I think we should be pretty placed against any kind of precarious situation in the future.
Let me just quickly come over. So earlier you were discussing that we have pretty much the way we survived the initial years of technology and took people through the social media journey, etc., was by having very tight, straight-jacketed policies, social media content policies, media content policies, where there are hierarchies. You have to go through step by step. This world is completely changing. It is going zigzag. Now, if you have a deep fake, you can forget about all your social media content strategy, and you will have to look at an alternative way of dealing with that crisis. Or you don't agree with me?
No, I definitely don't
Pradeep.
agree. So crisis management, whenever I do crisis management workshops, the first thing that is, and the most important is that the preparation has to start much in advance. So the same thing, the same rules apply. And when perhaps the way you are looking at the processes is that they are somehow changed. No, they are the liberators. So if you know, and if you have the scenarios all plotted in, let's say 80%, obviously you can never have 100% scenario plotting, and you have put in place, a process. People are aware what needs to be done, so they are trained. Then you will not scramble at the last moment. So I think even in deepfakes, and when you said, have you started thinking, we have a 6-step process already laid down, how to deal with deepfakes. So you need to go through the steps. I can talk about the steps in detail, but I think this is not perhaps the forum. But as I said, if you are prepared, you will be able to deal with them. Nothing is easy. Crisis is never easy. What preparation does is, it gives you the confidence. You are not scrambling. You are not confused. Everybody knows what needs to be done, and therefore you are able to deal with it with a cool mind. It just calms you down, and that's what I would say magic of this process is.
Tehseen?
So we have faced it very recently, and the crisis and the plan were hand to hand. Our Chief Technology Officer from Global, Feroz Sheikh, he was doing webinars with us, of course, on deepfakes and how the 6 steps which Pradeep sir mentioned, how we have to be cooperative as employees, what are the norms, and we were discussing what is all these things happening. While we were into the 3rd webinar, there was a message into everyone's inbox, that message from Group Global CEO, and that was a deepfake. And we all received it while we were into that webinar. So that's what I was saying, that both the things came together. Of course, we as communicators had a meeting immediately, and we sorted it out. Best part was that our employees were aware, even the field staff. So we have field staff working at the ground level, at a very, very remote area, at a village, because our business is such that we have to work with farmers. Then we will have someone sitting in Basel, Switzerland, we'll have someone sitting in Singapore, so all across. So all levels of employees were part of that webinar. So best part is that everyone was educated and aware, so we were able to handle that crisis very beautifully in record time. But yes, as companies, we have to be prepared for this crisis, because in future this is going to happen very often.
Akanksha.
So I think deep fakes or no deep fakes, like Pradeep mentioned, all crises are difficult, not easy to handle. Best, some ground rules stay as is. So whether it's a deep fake or no deep fake, you need to ensure that you have your crisis plan in place in terms of having a core team in place, not like figuring out who's going to take the call, have the scenarios mapped in terms of, okay, deep fake is also one scenario that can come up. So do you have a plan in place in case this happens, what do you do? Also, never forget that your internal stakeholders are important because they could panic in a situation like this, and how do you manage them very well? So keeping that in mind, so I think the crisis plan stays as is. What changes today is the social listening tools, the monitoring tools, the fact that you have to be looking out at what is happening. You have to see if there are any cues or what is going to happen. And the reason I'm saying this is that at BharatPay, we could see that crisis was coming our way. We ignored it. We can also see patterns in certain cases that, we can see people who are trying to create some kind of, some miscreants, some trollers that could come and create a bigger challenge. So I think it's important to keep that in mind and also have your plan in place, and of course the 6-step deep fake plan which he's talking about.
6 or 16. Whatever needs to happen will happen. But very quickly, I'm very cognizant of the time. We have about, on the clock, in about 3 minutes, 2 seconds. So Dr. Chowdhary.
So, each time there is a high-level transformation happening, I try to sign up a few consultants and make them party to my effort. So it was like when GST came in, a lot of us who were only used to the service tax paying, we dabbled understanding GST. So I signed up a few GST vendors with me and learned the skills with them. Similarly, I have now signed up with cybersecurity experts, made them a part of my entire framework. And we also have some very good alliance with Vivekanand Education Society. I have 250 PhD professors with me who are my capacity building and 3,000 MBA students. So I've created like a framework around. So cybersecurity is one part, but all the transformation that we are seeing at a rapid pace, we are equipped to go forward with the new edge around it.
Thank you, Dr. Chowdhary. We have about 2 minutes. I take one question if somebody has. Anup, sir.
Kumar, you started with
Marshall McLuhan.
message, yeah. So medium and massage. So these days, one of the key things which we are seeing is that technology is also acting like that massage booster. So in the lines of like, followers, and these days I think Facebook or somebody has started that you need to tag @followers and then get. So the question is for the PR stroke ops person and also the media. Here it is now more about trying to get your message across, because the generation we are seeing, they don't read, they read much more, but they don't read the long form. It's only the ADA problem, the distraction. So the key question for tech and PR guys is, how do you solve this, this likes thing and this ego massage thing that, my PR is only good if I get 3,463 likes.
Great. Any of you? Please, we have exactly 38 seconds. How do you resolve that?
So I'll take it. So I think you can resolve it at a stakeholder level by telling them that it's not only about likes. We have a lot of people in some of our teams who keep coming and tracking, okay, we got more likes here and you didn't get likes. So it's not just about likes, because you could call 15 people and tell them to like your post or repost it. You should see what is the impact you're creating in the larger spectrum of things in terms of the variety of stakeholders you're reaching out to, including your direct customers, including your investors and all of that. I think that's what you need to keep pushing back. And also the narrative that you're able to set, which you will see when you're hit by a little small crisis also. That's when you realize that your foundation was strong enough to be able to take that crisis or not. So I think the education has to be done at a management level, so they don't get swayed away by the likes and by the impressions, and are more aligned to the fact that you need to build an engaged user base and not just people who just come and like and run away.
Thank you,
At the
Akanksha.
heart of everything is the effectiveness of the message, that how the message was conveyed, and if that we can measure effectively, I think that will solve the problem.